I can never choose the simple route, can I? Welcome back to another video on the Minecraft creative world. Excuse you, sheep. I'm Jake Kelton, and I had an idea. See, I built this really awesome monolith in the background during a stream where I was learning the Axiom mod. Well, at least as much of it as I could figure out. And it's pretty fantastic. Overall, great shape, great design. A couple more details I think would really kind of help add to it and make the base look a little bit better. But it's a very mysterious, awesome, obelisk-looking thing. Ancient and cool. And here's where the problem is. See, I had this cool idea that these runic symbols in the side of the monolith, which look really awesome and look even better at night, would look even cooler if the sides of the monolith were blank faces that then opened up to showcase the symbols in the middle of the night. That seems pretty awesome to me. But that means we have an extremely difficult challenge trying to figure out how to be able to get these symbols to open and close between daytime and nighttime. And we have nighttime sensors, but there are a lot of blocks that need to move, and detailed on this side, to make sure that this thing actually works the way I want to. And I am not a redstone expert. So, this is going to be a fun episode where we try to figure out a little bit of redstone, a little bit of engineering, and see if we can figure out how to make these symbols show up in the middle of the night and showcase this monolith in all of its awesomeness. And if we get stuck, I have a good friend that I can call on that might be able to help us get out of a pickle. But let's go ahead and get started. I've started off by grabbing a copy of our monolith, moving it over to the side so we can kind of work on it. And the first thing we're going to need to do is clear out the entire central area so that we can see exactly how much space we have to work with to try to figure out how to get these blocks to move the way we want them to move. So now that we've cleared out a nice empty space for us to work with, this is what we've got left. My thought process is pretty simple. If we use a bunch of slime blocks and then we attach ourselves a sticky piston, and then we can pull ourselves all of the frog lights off to the side. If we also add to them, let's go ahead and put see, that's not going to work for this one. So we're going to have to do something a little bit different there. But if we add stone, let's make it this mossy cobblestone to each one of these and add our slime blocks to those as well. Then when we power it again, oh, is it too many blocks now? I bet it's too many blocks, isn't it? So we'll need to make the whole system a little bit smaller. There we go. It will, kind of switch back and forth between being frog lights, and if we unpower it, it'll pull it away, and it will, some of it at least, will turn to stone. But we're gonna have to, but it's not gonna move forward. Interesting. Yeah, so maybe my plan is not gonna work because we're still gonna have the face of the stone kind of carved out as well. So back to the drawing board on this, because it's gonna need that double piston extender to push the block forward or pull the block to the side. And we have a lot of blocks that need swapping out. So let me think a little bit further on this. All right, so after a little bit more playing, I have gotten to not much. I'm not a redstone expert, so I'll show you what I can do. If I pull that there, great. We've got at least one out of the way, and then we can pull that to get those out of the way. And then in theory, I would need to reactivate all of these so that they would then grab the blocks one more time to get them completely out of the way. So that way we could then get a whole new set of blocks down and over. I'm not even sure how we get them out. But I'm really struggling with trying to figure out how to be able to at least get them into the position here and then pulled back out. I've been looking at a couple of different tutorials on how to do block swaps, which this is not exactly a block swap because we're swapping out this one block here, sure, but we're also trying to push it forward and get it back out, which is a little bit more complicated. And so I think what instead we're going to do, at least for the next little while, is focus on just trying to get the frog lights swapped out for this and see how simple I can make that. And then if I can get that figured out, while we'll still have the symbols etched into the face, at least they won't be glowing, and that's a start. And then we can work on figuring out what the next steps are. But yeah, it's gonna be a bit of a struggle. So let's keep going. Well, this has been an absolute mess of redstone, and I know it is most inefficient and still doesn't actually function completely perfectly, but let me show you what I was able to get done just on my own, messing around for a little bit. So it is daytime, and as you can see, not all the blocks are hidden. We still have quite a few in the middle that are very much visible, and that is not great. But at least when we go time set night, everything will switch over, and now it glows at night, which is exactly what we want. So one half of it is somewhat figured out, but as you can see, when we switch over to daytime, most of it disappears, but not all of it. And I might be okay with a handful of dots still showcasing through. At the very least, these holes need to go away. I need to figure out how to make those holes go away. And worst case scenario, we might just change some of the design a little bit to fit what we are capable of hiding. And that might have to be good enough. It's still going to be a really cool symbol. Even if we don't get the exact one that we were looking for just because of the complexity. All that being said, while this is a good start, you can see that I have used up a massive amount of these corners especially, which are just not going to work when it comes to these other sides as well. And it's not the most efficient system. It's basically just using a whole bunch of pistons as well as a bunch of slime and honey. And I think that there's much better, more efficient ways to do this. And that is where I think we're going to move over and say hi to a good friend of mine, Nugs, and see if he can help out, kind of condense this down. And Redstoner he is. This footage is from a Discord call we did midway through his rebuild of my redstone, as well as him adding in many of the things that I thought impossible. I am blown away by his knowledge and skill with redstone and his incredible kindness in helping me with this project. The 12 hours that he put into this monolith took the concept from idea and turned it into reality. So that was awesome, and Nugs is a brilliant redstone mega chad, because this was my attempt at just piddling around and figuring out what I can do. But I am just absolutely in awe, because check this out. Nugs sent us this schematic of the whole thing actually working. This guy is insane. There will be links in the description and in a pinned comment where you can go check this guy out, because his stuff is totally nuts. I am honored to be able to chat with him and that he would work with me on this project. Huge shout out, because this is way beyond me. All right, this is mumbo jumbo Doc M77 level insanity to me. And now maybe some of y'all are redstone geniuses, and for you this is no big deal, but for me, my brain looks at this and goes, this is spaghetti. How do you even make sense of all of this insanity? But what we have to do is check it out, because right now he actually got the sides working where they are hidden. The circles are hidden, and we're just gonna have these symbols etched into the walls. And in theory, it should work that when it turns night, okay, it's not gonna be this night. Oh, it is this night. Oh, there it goes. Look at that. Is that not nuts? Is that not nuts? So there is a clock that's set up that every 3 nights, so there's going to be 2 nights where the whole system is going to be off. And then on the 3rd night, the monolith comes alive and it powers up. And there's going to be some pretty awesome magical stuff that's going to be included in it. And I am crazy excited. But check that out. All of that redstone to be able to block swap and turn things off. And man, once this thing gets decorated up and gets that same look and style to it, which I'm about to work on, it's going to be so sick. So the monolith will stay on for a total of 24 hours. And after 24 hours, the monolith will power back down and go to sleep. and there it will remain off for another 24 hours, or another 48 hours. And so you got to make sure to visit the monolith at the right time for it to activate and come to life. But I have got to get to work and decorate this thing and make it look awesome. And what's just absolutely incredible is all this redstone that he was able to pack into here practically fits inside of the original box. It's literally one block extra on all sides, which is going to make decorating this thing an absolute breeze. So I'm going to get to work on that, and I'm going to hit you guys up after a time lapse of me getting this decorated, put in place, and yeah, we're gonna go ham on this. So let's get to making this thing look the way that it should. All right, the decorating is done, and this thing looks so cool. I thought it'd be really awesome to add a little bit of a pond in the top of it, like where water had collected and gotten stuck. And you actually can see I started working on the other one to do that, but this one is the improved and upgraded and better one, and I definitely don't think it's wise to put a bunch of water over top of a whole bunch of complicated redstone, but here we are. Hopefully I protected it well enough. Added a little bit of soul sand in just to add some bubbles and animation and movement into it, but I think it looks really cool. Not that you're going to see it all that much from the top unless you happen to have an elytra and are flying overhead, but this thing looks really, really cool. And yes, I've been experimenting with a little bit of something else I'll showcase here in just a minute underneath it, but in the meantime, we went ahead and cleared the other two as we were kind of testing out some things with those, and now we need to get this thing into position over there, which is going to require a little bit of tweaking what's underneath it, because this is that 2 blocks wider across the sides, as well as I think a little bit taller, and so it's going to need a little bit of tweaking to get it into the correct position and to clean it up a bit. So let me get this kind of situated, as well as get a little bit of decoration underneath it, and then I'll kind of showcase what we're doing with this beacon, some of the cool things we're going to try to play around with when it comes to the final touches to what's turning out to be, honestly, in my opinion, one of the cooler builds I've made recently. It's just, it's all aesthetic, but it's awesome aesthetic. To my not-so-esteemed archivists of the Adventurers Guild, yes, I'm still ignoring your missive. I'll dive into the crag whenever I'm good and ready. In the meantime, I write to you from the Senneberg Tributary Inn, the Copper Flake. It was here I first heard the rumors of an arcane structure far to the north, lost in a jungle. Supposedly, a traveling group of merchants got lost and stumbled upon it. They were discovered days later, ranting and rambling about voices and lights in the night. Once they had recovered themselves a little, all they could truly remember was a monolith in the jungle of the north. And so I found myself trekking north through thick, dark woods and over rivers. Finally, cresting a hill, I too caught sight of this monolith. It floated, but unlike the floating islands of Amalamed, this seemed more stationary, as if its base had simply fallen away while the upper structure refused to budge.
Amid the abandoned camp, I discovered a journal left by one of the merchants, many of its pages ripped out. Nothing of use could be deciphered, so I retired for the evening. I was about to lay down for the night when a buzzing gained intensity, imperceivable save for the strange silence that seemed to permeate the area. Suddenly, the monolith came to life. The giant etchings on the sides began to glow with an ethereal luster. A beam of power rose through the middle, spiking the sky. Mesmerized, I slowly, cautiously approached. The closer I got, the more I could feel a power drawing me in. Something came over me. Perhaps my curiosity, perhaps something else. I stepped into the beam. The next thing I knew, I was waking up here at the Copperflake Inn. What happened and how I got here, I could not tell you. I hope this record is enough to satisfy your frankly unmerited demands. Your unwilling servant, Jake.
Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate you dropping by, and I hope that you had a fun time. I know that I had a blast making this. The cinematic was really fun to make and maybe dropped some serious lore for future videos. We'll have to see. What do you think about the monolith? Let me know in the comments below, and maybe you can decipher some of the secret messages that were hidden within the cinematic. A special thank you once again to Nugs for making this project into a reality, because it would not have been possible without his help with the redstone. And I hope you all have a great day. Have a great one, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye.